First on our agenda is a request from the Stowe Community Chest for approval of the Stowe Gobbler Race on Thursday, November 23, beginning at 8 a.m. Is there anybody from the Community Chest or from this race who can speak to this?
Yes, can you hear me? This is Adrian Hoey.
Oh, there you are. Okay. I didn't see Adrian.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for putting me on the agenda. Appreciate it. So it's I believe it's the 16th annual Gobbler. The Stowe Community Chest has taken it over from, previously it was student volunteers, and then they eventually grew up and, got real lives. And so we took it on last year at the very last minute, and we decided to take it on every year. It's capped at 1,000 runners. It runs through Bolton, which is why I'm here tonight. I have a traffic plan from Chief Salisi and also Lieutenant Hamburger from Bolton. So I think we should be good. There's nothing different. It's a community treasure. It really is. And rumor has it that the Bolton police have a team that are running, because I know Stowe has at least 5 police team members running, and they've made their own t-shirts and stuff. So yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Yes.
About how many runners do you have at this event?
1,000. We have to cap it at 1,000.
Okay. And
Wow.
it's a 5K, or how long is the run?
5K.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, it's my understanding that we do have approval of the details of the route and so on from the police department. And I believe you've provided the necessary insurance information.
Yep.
Jenny, is there anything else that we need in terms of documentation for this race?
Well, what they provided for the insurance was a letter letting us know that the insurance will be issued in October. So once we get that certificate in, I believe after October 9th is when they said it would come. So you may want to make the approval conditional upon that being received.
Okay.
Correct.
Stan, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm fine with it. I mean, they've held this like forever, and it's the same course, and everybody's gotten approval, so I'm fine with it.
All right. Would you like to make a motion?
I will. I make a motion that we approve the request from the Stowe Community Chest for approval of the Stowe Gobbler Race on Thursday, November 23rd, 2023, beginning at 8 a.m.
I will second that. Roll call. Stan?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. So thank you very much, Adrian. And
Thank you,
good
Robert
luck.
and Stan. An absolute pleasure. And just to let you know, I moved from Stowe 3 weeks to Bolton. So I'm now a Bolton resident.
Oh,
We're
smart
glad to
move,
have you.
Adrian. Smart move.
Yeah, glad to have you.
You're in a good town now.
It's much posher.
See,
Ooh.
what I appreciate is you said that after we did the approval instead of before the approval.
Well, I didn't want to be.
So I appreciate that.
No, we thank you very much.
You will see more of me. Take care now. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, bye now.
Before we go on to our next topic, I was remiss on not noting that the third select board member, Brian Boyle, is not going to be part of the meeting tonight due to conflicting commitments that he has. So this is not a surprise, last minute kind of thing. He told us earlier he told us late last week that he had a scheduling conflict. So that's why Brian's not with us this evening. Next up is a review of the special town meeting of Monday. And Don, would you like to walk us through that?
I would love to. I think, well, first of all, we had approximately 520 people there. I think the setup was done very well. Great support from the from the high school staff down there. The custodians worked well with us. The facilities director, Rob Frieswick, National Honor Society students helped set up the chairs. As far as the meeting itself goes, I thought it went as flawlessly as a large meeting can. We had literally one person who said that their clicker wasn't working when it came time for the big vote. Jenny was immediately able to get them a replacement clicker, which worked fine. Which it just goes to show when you put a lot of work into planning and testing, and it's a lot of hours, when it comes time for the actual event, it just kind of flows, and nobody thinks about everything that had to go into making it work. And I know there were a lot of people. I'm not going to start naming names because I will forget somebody, and I don't want to offend anyone. But I would also say it's a great example, once again, of collaboration between two towns. In this case, it was Harvard. We have 500 clickers. They have 500 clickers of the same, 500 identical clickers. We worked very cooperatively together to make sure not only do we have the same clickers, but one set is numbered 1 to 500. Another set is numbered 500 to 1 to 1,000. So if we have a large event, we can borrow their clickers. If they have a large event, which they will have one coming up, they can borrow ours. Neither community had to buy 1,000 clickers or rent them. Rent them can be very expensive. So we're very fortunate to have towns bordering us that like to collaborate, and I've cited a few examples in the past. So our thanks to Harvard. But Jenny, would you like to add anything? You were right in the middle of all of it.
I think you pretty much said it. It was a pleasure to get to know Rose and Andrew, the town clerk and the assistant town clerk over in Harvard. And I feel like we now have friends over the border that we look forward to collaborating with in the future. And it was definitely a benefit to both towns because it saved money for this year and for future meetings.
So yes, so thanks to Harvard and thanks to everyone who participated. I'm not expecting Pam Powell here tonight, our town clerk. I know Doug Story, our town moderator, is aware of tonight's meeting, but I never saw confirmation that he was going to be here either. But it was important to be able to highlight, the different activities that went on in preparation.
No, and from my perspective, Don, I want to thank everybody, you and everyone in the town hall, for what you did. I mean, to the casual observer, it was a two article meeting, one to do some bills and the second to discuss the high school project. So to some folks, it may not necessarily be a big deal, but there was a lot of work and a lot of effort that went on for a very long time before the meeting commenced, to make it as smooth as it was. And then I want to thank all of you, everybody in town hall, to make it the success that it was, because there was a lot of effort that was put into to make it what it was.
Yeah, it was a big meeting. It was an unusual set of circumstances. The meeting went very smoothly. It from all appearances, it looked like an easy meeting to manage. And that is the result of a lot of time and hard work and contingency planning that people put into it, because there were a couple of hiccups along the way. And I don't think anybody, I don't think that it was noticeable to many people. So, congratulations and thank you to everybody who was involved in preparing for that meeting.
Yep.
Anything else? Anybody else have any comments? Okay. Next up, we're ahead of schedule here. So if we're expecting someone, we may have to shuffle the agenda in order to accommodate them. The next up is to review and approve an affidavit regarding the potential sale of real estate property located at map 7.c parcel 17.1 on the town map and owned by Lori Ducharme and held in chapter 61A. Don, can you just briefly walk us through the issues here?
Yes. With any property being held in 61A that's up for sale, there's a process that needs to be gone through. The town in which the land resides is offered a right of first refusal to the land. In my time here, we've never exercised a right of first refusal. The plan here is to sell the land to, as I understand it, to sell the land to an individual who does not have any intention of doing any residential development on it. And the paperwork, some of the paperwork has been submitted. Jenny, has the last bit of paperwork been submitted yet? The assessor's form?
No, not at this time, but when I spoke to Kelly this afternoon, the assessors holds the lien on the property, so they'll make sure that they don't proceed until the paperwork has been recorded at the registry of deeds and received.
And that's an important facet of this. The assessor's office are the gatekeepers of all of this, and until all the appropriate paperwork is received and filed with the registry of deeds, the transaction is not final. So the select board is free to vote on this tonight, knowing that that the process is not complete until the assessors sign off on everything.
Okay. And the only thing we're voting on is whether or not the town wants to purchase this land.
That is correct, but I do still think the vote needs to be contingent upon the receipt of the affidavit that the party is planning to keep it in 61A.
If I may, this is Brandon Ducharme here on behalf of Lori. Just to explain too, not only is this land in 61A, but this is also farm open space land that was part of the Northwood subdivision. So regardless of it being in 61A, it's not developable land. It's for perpetuity, it's open space.
The entire parcel?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Brandon. Thank you for that.
All right, Stan, any questions or comments?
Well, if it's open space, then shouldn't it be under the control of the town of Bolton or the Conservation Commission or the Conservation Trust?
So in terms of this type of open space, there's three types of open space that are allowed under the phosphate development. There's open space to the town, there's open space that's controlled by homeowners, and then they have what they call farm restricted open space, which is why we did the farm restricted in this case, where we maintained ownership, we're the owners of it. And the parcel, because it's a hayfield, so we continued to hay it and use it for agricultural use. And and basically it's just restricted in terms of the point that it can only be farmed and it can't be used for residential development.
Okay, all right.
Would you like to make does anybody else have any comments or questions about this? Dan, would you like to make a motion?
Certainly try. I think we'll make a motion that the town will exercise its right to not purchase the land that is located at map 7C parcel 17.1 and owned by Lori Ducharme and held in chapter 61A. Do we need to say that the sale is contingent upon getting whatever documentation that is required by the assessors?
I think that would be fine. Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'll second that. So roll call, Stan?
Yes.
I'm a yes also.
Great. Thank you very much, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Have a good night.
Okay, next we are going to go to an update from the Community Choice Aggregation Committee. They're requesting support for alternative approaches for municipalities to create electricity aggregation plans. Basically, the State Department of Public Utilities has been very slow to process not only Bolton, but many other towns and cities' electricity aggregation plans. And this effort is a request to support, I guess, a filing with the DPU in regard to this. So Lynn Dishler, is that a fair summary, or?
Yes. Yes. We've been waiting over 3 years. Well, no, 3 years. It'll be 3 years in November since we've submitted the application. There's 35 towns that have been waiting for either new applications or amendments to the applications. Very few have been approved during this period of time. In contrast, New Hampshire and Rhode Island, they have a much newer process, and for them it takes about 2 months to no more than 6 months to approve all of the applications that go through their states. The Boston Globe had done an article about it. We've had our state and our federal representatives going to the DPU asking, even the Speaker of the House asked for his town and nothing happened. So the DPU's just been dragging their feet. And even with new administration, it doesn't seem to be getting much better. And I know you know that in the past winter, the rate soared. And so we had so many citizens then going outside and contracting outside of National Grid because National Grid basic rates were so high. And so that undermined everything we were trying to do to help them and protect the citizens of Bolton and give them greener and a better rate over the long term. So now the DPU has proposed in docket, it is 2367, that they're going to make it much more difficult and costly for the towns to apply and to make amendments to the applications once they exist. It seems like they're going in the opposite direction. So Colonial Power is here. They've made us aware of the situation, and they're asking all of the towns that have agreements already or whoever are applying for agreements that they speak up, because that will hopefully the state will hear that this is an issue and that this whole process shouldn't be taking so long.
And my understanding is that as part of this changes that they're proposing, that they've opened up a window of time to receive comments, and that's what we're responding to, is their invitation to make comments.
Yes, I believe the window ends October 6th is the end of the public review period or comment period.
Okay. Are there other municipalities also making the same proposals as we are?
Definitely. Yes.
Okay.
I don't, if you go, I went to the link to see what was out there, and there were already many comments that other municipalities are making. Everybody's, I think, concerned, and Colonial Power is concerned about this new proposal.
Okay. That's all the questions I have right now.
Okay.
Lynn, this is Stan. I mean, why is the state trying to make it more difficult?
That's a good question. I don't know if anyone has the answer. Really.
Okay.
I remember the Globe article from sometime in early summer, late spring, or I did read that, and Lynn's right. There's no overarching vision for the delay that's ever been put forth.
They've actually come back and asked us questions twice. And Colonial Power has been fantastic. Denise and Mark are here. They responded right away. I mean, the application that we put in was like so many others that had already gone through. So there's really no rhyme or reason, except that I don't know, they're trying to stop the process almost. So, and So it would be good if this docket did, if we could speak to the docket and not have these, hopefully the new administration will take notice if enough towns make comments and will turn things around.
Right, because it's not just Bolton that they're procrastinating on.
Yeah, and it's any I'm sorry, and it's any amendment. Any town that even already has an agreement in place is going to have to put through a new application. So I think that's right, and even just the rules that they're putting in is going to make it much more restrictive. It's going to be more difficult to change the plan. It's going to be make it more difficult if timing is an issue. So they want us to notify them 6 months in advance that we're going to have a rate or a contract at a certain point, and we can't know what the rates are going to be 6 months in advance. That they're kind of making it very difficult for the towns to administer it at all. So it's really baffling for us, and it's frustrating because last winter, so many people were so upset and hurt by the high rates by National Grid, and we should have had something in place by then. There's no excuse.
Mr. Chair?
Just a moment, Stan, do you have anything else?
Well, I guess, in lieu of this, I mean, obviously this has been going on for a very long time, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get resolved anytime soon. But the flip side of this is that this does not stop any individual homeowner from switching out from National Grid to something else that might be more cost effective. I mean, we actually did this back in December of 2022, when obviously the process that you folks were trying to achieve seemed to be stalled. So there is potentially an alternative process. Now, I don't know how, if everyone goes and chooses their own alternative supplier, what that does to the aggregation plan if at some point in time aggregation comes, because I know certainly in my case, you sign up for a certain period of time and there is a early termination fee that is levied if you decide you want to get out and switch to something else. But I guess if in looking at the tea leaves, if this is something that's going to go on forever, do you want to come up with a plan B that says, provide folks with the sites where you can look at what the current alternative rates are for electricity from a variety of suppliers and let them choose. So it may not necessarily be the best plan, but it gets them a lower rate of electricity. I don't know.
But the whole point of aggregation is that buying as a group gets you better prices than buying individually.
That's
yes,
true.
Individual people can go get rates, but if we had an aggregation plan in place, the rationale behind it is we could get better rates as a group than we could get by seeking those rates individually.
Oh, I agree, but if we are now in year 3 or year 4 of attempting to get this going, and people are still on National Grid, who knows when this is going to happen? So you may want to switch to get something better in the interim, and when the aggregation plan, my understanding is that it's an opt-out option. At least the last time I heard that, if the plan goes through, that's what you get, unless you want to opt out and stay with who you have.
Well, it's only National Grid basic customers who would be rolled in initially. So anybody who has an outside contract would not be automatically rolled in when aggregation goes into place.
Gotcha.
But the issue before the board tonight is whether or not to endorse this document.
Right. And I'm in favor of supporting the comments of the document that needs to be submitted. I'm fully supportive of that.
Okay, Mr. Petrin?
Yes, thank you. I'm a member of the committee with Sharon Shapela and Lynn. And this is just one small agency. It's not the whole state. It is a small division of the state, being DPU, that's holding this up. There's a lot of members of other aspects of the state, including, the governor in the past and our legislative delegation, but they don't have the authority necessarily to move this forward. So it's under the control of this one agency. And so we're just seeking your support to get, try to get that agency to see the light.
Okay. Any other comments? Stan, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we support the request and support the comments on the proposed reply to the docket DPU 23-67 that was provided and developed by the Bolton Community Choice Aggregation Committee, and move that forward and submit that to the various state agencies that need to see that.
Would you modify your motion to authorize the town administrator to sign it on behalf of the select board?
I will modify my motion to allow the town administrator to sign on our behalf.
I will second that. So roll call, Stan.
Yes.
I'm a yes also. And Mr. Lowe will provide his John Hancock to it.
There you go.
Excellent.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, while we have the opportunity, I just wanted to recognize and thank the work of the committee, a committee of 3 people working awfully hard. Lynn Dishler, John Petrin, and Sharon Chapella have really put more hours into this than and energy than I can even, and no pun intended, than I could imagine. So they've worked really, really hard at this, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks.
And now, drum roll, please. It's time for the town administrator report.
I'll see if I can light you up here. Let's see. First, the grant update. Just some follow-up information on the MassWorks grant that we'll be using to pay for part of the intersection project at the high school. Excuse me. We've exchanged email with the person who runs the MassWorks grant administration thereof, and we have talked about seeking a supplemental or a budget supplement to the grant, which was a $938,000 award, to just in case we need some additional money now that we've gotten the $500,000 complete streets grant. We received a response back indicating that the hard cap for any grant awards for any community for MassWorks is $1 million. And since our award was $938,000, we are free to submit an amendment request for the additional $62,000. That's not a hard commitment that we will receive it, but I think we have an excellent chance. So we're working on the paperwork now to get that into the state for that approval. So that would get us to $1.5 million. We don't have a final answer from our engineers yet as to whether or not we can work within $1.5 million, but I think we'll be pretty close. And it's my suggestion and recommendation that if we do need a little bit more money, if we're talking about $50,000 or $100,000, that we use our some Chapter 90 money for that. We have a good amount of Chapter 90 money right now. That would get us over the finish line, and we could get rolling on the bid packages and all that over the winter, and try to go through the bidding process. So when we get to springtime, we theoretically could be ready to roll. So I think we're going to be in good shape. I have a positive attitude towards being in good shape and being able to move forward soon on the project. Also, I wanted to let you know, I just found out this morning that we have received an award from DEP under the Sustainable Materials Recovery Program in the amount of $3,850 to continue the work that we do for recycling at the transfer station. So that's also very good news. Any questions on that so far?
Nope.
Okay. Next, update on request for all-in costs of the school building project. I did submit, or send an email to the school superintendent asking that once the borrowing strategy for the project is finalized, that we receive the calculations on what the projections are for the impact for the all-in costs for the borrowing of the school. Obviously, that hasn't been finalized yet, so we don't have a definitive answer, but I've got the request in and he has acknowledged that. And then, excuse me, any comments or questions on that?
No, I would assume that that is both the principal and the potential interest.
Yes, that was the way I requested it.
Okay.
And finally, plans for FY24. This is a conversation I've already had with the select board and with town staff. But I wanted to announce tonight my intentions to retire at the end of FY24. Specifically, my projected date right now would be June 30th, 2024. I want to give the select board a lengthy notice so that you can do a planful search and hopefully find a candidate that you're comfortable with. I would be more than happy to participate and help with this search in any way that you feel appropriate. I think that I believe we can attract some really good candidates because, as you know, I think Bolton is a wonderful place to work and I think a desirable place to work. And I would just like to thank Bolton for how I've been welcomed here.
You've done a great job, Don. And
Yeah, there've been, the town's changed a lot. There've been a lot of improvements, particularly the past couple of years. I think there's been a remarkable increase in the amount of grants, in the variety of grants, and gotten a lot of small grants that don't get recognized, a lot of large grants that we've kind of covered a few weeks ago. So I think you've had a very. I also want to mention what I think is an excellent job in staffing the town administration. I think that's a very important part of your job, and I think you've done an excellent job at that. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I echo that, and I was on the search committee that brought Don in, and we have worked closely together for the 14 and a half years. And bar none, he has been an absolute gem to this town. He's done wonders in bringing in the staff and keeping them motivated. The grants, I think not many people notice this, but we are the envy of a lot of towns with our administration, the staff, the dedication that the staff has, and the fact that we are in the kind of position that we're in. So it's largely due to Don and the staff in town hall, and we greatly appreciate it, and we're going to miss that.
Thank you very much.
Next, select board business. Are there any public service announcements?
Not from me tonight, no.
Okay. Future agenda items discussion?
Actually, just to go a little bit ahead, I'm going to ask that we not have a discussion about the discussion point that says U.S. report school ranking discussion. One, I'd like to defer that until we have all three select board members here, but also I would like to have that agenda item modified as I had requested on Monday afternoon, which apparently did not get done for this agenda. So I would like to table that and add that should be the U.S. News and World Report school ranking and schooldigger.com discussion when we have the next select board meeting.
Well, I think in light of I think we're going far afield from what the Board of Selectmen should be doing in terms of second guessing the school district. And I'm inclined not to put that on the agenda again.
Well, Mr. Sikansky, we have a responsibility to understand what's going on with our district. We're giving them $18-19 million a year. And these are independent reports that are published on a yearly basis. And I think what I like to understand is, okay, these are not our rankings. This is a well-established set of rankings. And I think we need to engage either the school committee and or the district to understand how things have changed year over year. And I think that's an important factor. I think that's very important. You seem to want to shy away from discussing anything relative to the school. We had several excuse me, I'm speaking. Okay. We had several agenda items last week, of which essentially you poo-pooed them all. Mass General Law says we need to get some audits and detailed financial statements from the school committee, and we've never gotten them. And you don't want to do that. I think it's very important that as the chief executive officers of this town, that we have at least a fair and open discussion with the district and the school committee on what they see those rankings translate into, why perhaps those rankings have changed from one year to another. And I think it's a very appropriate discussion to have. And I don't quite understand why you want to shy away from all of these discussions relative to the schools. I don't understand that.
Let me know when you're done so I can respond.
I'm done.
The voters have selected people to represent the voters, the citizens of this town, in matters of the school district. They did not vote the select board to do the same. So we should stick to our knitting.
I disagree.
Okay. Well, the next time we have a meeting, you can offer to put this on the agenda when we discuss future agenda items. If 2 selectmen agree that it should go on the agenda, I will put it on the agenda.
So this was already on the agenda, and I'm asking to defer it to the next meeting. So what you're saying is you've changed your mind now? That now, after some thought, you don't want it on the agenda at all? After you allowed it to be on the agenda?
Yeah. May I explain why I changed my mind?
Please, go ahead.
All right. I'm on the school building committee. I have been a vocal proponent of the new school since the proposal was made. And it seemed that in some respects, there was a conflict of interest between my wanting to promote that project and anybody who wanted to speak to other issues about that project or the school district in general. I chose to want to have open discussion, to not even seem like I'm afraid of discussing it or trying to hide something. So all the stuff you wanted to talk about, we talked about. But that conflict of interest is gone now. The decision has been made. And so the select board should exercise the restraint that it expects from other parts of that town government and not intrude where the voters have already delegated responsibilities to citizens.
Well, you're talking about relieving yourself from the school building project. What does that have to do with the ranking of the regional high school vis-a-vis other schools and the ranking of our high school from year to year?
You asked me
It has
why
nothing to do with the high
asked me
school
why
project.
I changed my opinion. I was open to conversations about the school district and the high school prior to the vote. But the vote has settled the issue.
Settle what issue, Bob? What's settled? We have a new high school. That's settled.
Okay,
That has nothing to do with the quality of education in our schools.
okay,
That's different. That's totally different.
all right. Well, you're asking me why I changed my mind. I just explained why I changed my mind. You don't like that explanation? Okay, fine.
So you're not going to allow a agenda item that was on this agenda that I have asked to move to another meeting so that all three select board members can discuss that because you've changed your mind.
Yes. And if you want to get it back on the agenda, bring it up at the future agenda items discussion at the next meeting. If there's two select board members that want to put it on the agenda, we'll put it on the agenda.
All right.
All right, I have a couple of items I would like to put on future agenda items. The first is that at our next meeting, the select board discussed the formation of a search committee for a new town administrator.
That's fine.
Okay. The second is, with regard to my responsibilities on the school building committee, they are trying to put a meeting schedule together for next year. We only have our schedule established through December. So I would like to put on the next meeting a discussion of whether or not we are willing to, normally we don't reset our schedule till December. Are we willing to reset our schedule earlier for next year in order to allow the school building committee to, basically they will schedule around whatever our meeting schedule is, but we need to establish the meeting schedule. So I would like to put on the next meeting agenda, establishing a January through May 2024 meeting schedule.
No problem with that.
Okay. Our next agenda item is an extension of something we did discuss at the last meeting, which is appointing a liaison to work directly with the Neshoba Regional School District on matters of finance and accounting. At that last meeting, and Stan, correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, Brian Boyle indicated that he'd heard from the school committee that they would welcome a liaison on the warrant committee there. He offered to be that liaison, and we seem to agree on that. We didn't have that as an agenda item, so it's on the agenda tonight to formalize the agreement, or to formalize appointing Brian as the liaison.
Well, since Brian's not here, I think we need to defer that to the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Next item is our discussion of a continuation of remote meetings. This is something I added at the annual town meeting. A citizen came up to me and asked us to meet in person again. But it might also be appropriate to move this to the next meeting if so that Brian could be involved in it.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
And I understand the individual that you spoke with has never attended a select board meeting, at least in the 20 years that I've been here. So I find that kind of amusing, but sure, let's have that discussion.
We'll discuss it.
Let's discuss that. Sure. Why not?
Okay. Next up is approval of bills and payroll warrants W24-06. W24-06A.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that. Roll call. Stan?
Yes.
I approve also. And finally, we have minutes. We have minutes from August 24th with some small changes. Jenny,
Yes,
you want to just show us what they are?
sure. They're very small. I think there was a space missing right there. And there was a header changed right there.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second that. Roll call. Stan?
Yes.
I'm a yes also. Are there any other issues we need to address this evening? Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. Roll call. Stan?
Aye.
I'm a yes also. All right. Jenny and Don, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. It's time for the record is 7:46.